Hello everybody, I have an Alpine beer brewed by Green Flash, the only kind we get on the East Coast, and it's their probably most popular beer, Pure Hoppiness. Maybe Nelson's more popular, but I've reviewed that one. And this is their double IPA, 8% alcohol, which actually isn't super high for a West Coast double IPA. I've had this once before on tap when it first was coming over here last year. And it was pretty intense of a beer. It was definitely in the West Coast style, but the 8% alcohol made it just about palatable for me and not too much of everything on my palate. And I think this is very fresh. There haven't been many 12-ounce bottles or any bottles of this making it to the East Coast. And what's funny is that I think Green Flash puts like a 7-month after bottling Best By date, because this one says Best By April 30th and it's November 20th. This is definitely not going to be very good in April. I wish breweries would, shorten their Best By dates for their extremely hoppy beers. But at least it's telling me that I'm pretty sure this is very fresh. I'm guessing it was bottled on October 30th, so it's about 3 weeks old, which is pretty good for a beer coming all the way from San Diego. And there's very little info on exactly how they hop this beer online or even on the bottle. It just says, get ready for this hoppy onslaught. Hops are added at every stage to create a mega double IPA with aromas of citrus, pine, and caramel sweetness. I'm guessing it has all the classic C hops in here. You know, Centennial, Columbus, Chinook, Cascade, maybe there's Simcoe. Can't get this top off. Yeah, it was extremely dank vegetal, but with a good amount of caramel sweetness. When I had it on tap, let's see if it is going to be the same. It actually looks paler than when I had it on tap. Maybe not that much paler, but it seems a little paler. Still very clear. And it's just like a super pale amber, I would say, but it's even paler than your average English pale ale, I would say. And they don't even tell you the IBUs or anything on the website or the malts. But I think it's, just like most West Coast double IPAs. Yeah, this was first brewed at, I guess I don't know when it's first brewed, but it was first added on Untapped in 2010. I could have looked on Beer Advocate and maybe then I would know when it's first brewed, but this wasn't brewed at the tiny brewery of Alpine. The head looked pretty nice. It looks like it's a well-made beer. Ooh, yeah. That is very dank. That's garlicky, it's cheesy, funky. It's got some citrus in there, but the herbal salad aroma is really overwhelming. It's pretty strong. I'm not even getting so much of caramel maltiness, even though I definitely know it's in there. Yeah, I think maybe the yeast they use in these Alpine beers brings out some of that danker, salady sort of aroma. But it's got onion, garlicky, all that stuff. Almost dilly, sort of asparagus. And I guess I noticed a little bit of a slight cotton candy-ish sort of malt, maybe. Yeah, a little bit of grapey malt, sort of. Whew. Yeah, I definitely get a lot more fruit in the flavor than the aroma, but really bitter. Lemon, pine sol, bitter grapefruit rind, and some lime too, maybe, and not juicy orange, but just a whole bunch of different citrus flavors in there, mixed in with the sharp herbal edge. And it's, after the first few sips, it's not overly toasty and malty and bitter, but it seems like that'll ramp up after a few more sips. The it has this slight solventy sort of like pine sol is kind of a good description, pine lemon sort of aroma that, and also when it gets in my tongue, I'm noticing some booziness and some astringency, almost, you know, like literal like cleaning fluid, but it's not that unpleasant. I'm enjoying it quite a bit more than like Stone IPA. But it's, yeah, it packs a punch. Like, my whole mouth is being overwhelmed with that herbal salad onion hops that's getting all over in my whole head, basically, with this beer. They definitely use a ridiculous amount of hops in this beer, and it's very noticeable, but it doesn't lead to a really complex fruitiness, I would say. And there's some caramel malt, but it's toasty and ends up finishing pretty dry because of all the bitterness. It's pretty well made beer. It's got some lacing going on, but it's almost totally filtered looking there. You can see my face pretty well through the glass. Yeah, I have to say that Alpine Nelson's probably my favorite beer from them. Just because that one's paler, not as much malt presence. There's a little bit of rye, which I enjoy, and then of course Nelson hops, which are always really unique and fantastic. And this one is very much just a sort of old-fashioned West Coast IPA. Very well done and somewhat more palatable than some other versions. It'd be interesting to compare this with the regular Green Flash West Coast IPA. That's like 8.1, but I haven't had that recently when it was like very fresh. This one, it seems like it's plenty fresh enough. I'm not noticing any old, unpleasant hop aromas or flavors. It seems like they're all the way they're intended to be. But it's pretty intense. But I'm still getting some like complex citrusy sort of things going on. Rinds mixed with just biting into a lemon with that kind of bitterness. It's not tart though or anything like that. And there's always a background of, yeah, toasted wheat bread sort of flavors. That works okay, but I wonder what it would taste like if it didn't have that edge to it. If it would be a little bit more fruity, if it were just only pale malts. But it's enjoyable if you want kind of the master of all West Coast IPAs, almost, I would say. Like, I haven't had a Stone double IPA that I think is quite this good. I should try their Ruination 2.0, I guess, but I know that in that one they're using some newer hop varieties, so I feel like the style is maybe even slowly dying out in a way. But this is a fantastic version of it, the pure hoppiness. And if you want just that super dank, in-your-face resinous aroma, this is the beer to go for. But then the flavor is not all just green, like you're drinking asparagus juice or something. And I really appreciate that there is some more noticeable fruits, but it's still overwhelmed by just bitter, resinous, dank, garlicky, oniony, almost funky, sweaty weed and hops aroma. All that stuff is going on in this beer. I'll give it like an 82 or maybe 80. I don't know. It's better than some double IPAs I've rated. I'm enjoying it more than, like, of course, Stone IPA, but also last year's batch of Bootleg Fireworks from Baxter. I wasn't a huge fan of that one. But just in terms of what this is advertised as and what it's going for, it's doing a good job of it. So 82 or 80 or something. I might never actually have this beer again, so I should probably do 80. But I know that lots of hop heads who aren't looking for the soft, juicy, fruity experience, this is probably their kind of thing. So how about 81 bags of popcorn for Alpine? Pure Hoppiness. Later.